The Eldar of Craft World Ulthwé came to Cronus pursuing their alien agendas, but in the end did nothing but feed the power of the Chaos Lord Eliphas the Inheritor. Despite her use of orcish servants and even a rival Chaos cult, the witch Taldir was unable to hold back Eliphas's forces, who cut her off from her vessel and subjected her people to the most terrible of fates. To celebrate his victory over the Eldar, Eliphas had his men crack open all the aliens' waystones. According to the black texts circulated after this dark day, these eldritch gems held the souls of the Eldar, keeping them from feeding the powers of chaos. By breaking the waystones, the Word-Bearers fed thousands of Eldar souls to Slaanesh, the Chaos God of excess and decadence, and obtained that dark deity's favor for their dark crusade. Governor Militant Alexander's naming of his capital proved highly premature, as Victory Bay saw his troops broken and slaughtered by the powers of chaos. Eliphas the Inheritor led an unholy procession through the streets of the shattered city, his cultists shouting out terrible supplications and gathering up the dead and wounded. These unfortunates were brought before the great Hellstorm cannon that had formed the center of the Imperial defense. Eliphas's sorcerers, Amphion and Zaethus, then performed a terrifying ritual using these rotting corpses as their sacrifice. With their dark words, the demon of plague and rot, bound into the cannon during the Horus Heresy, awoke anew. The Word-Bearers celebrated this day as that when their new crusade obtained the support of Ner'gul, the Chaos God of pestilence and decay. Faithful subjects of the Emperor understandably took heart to see the Word-Bearers strike at the heart of the Necron infestation of Cronus. With two implacable evils turning on one another, the thinking went, the forces of right couldn't help but win. Unfortunately, Eliphas the Inheritor would emerge from his victory in the Thur Abyss Plateau more dangerous than ever. Imperial commanders could not guess that the Necrons held strange technologies and artifacts that were as hateful to the powers of chaos as they were to life itself. By shattering the basalt monoliths and unholy archives of the Necrons, Eliphas was striking at one of the only forces, other than the God Emperor himself, able to push back the ruinous powers. In so doing, he not only removed a threat to his power, but gained the favor of Tzeentch, one of the Chaos Gods of the Warp. His dark crusade would carry the sanction of the God of Sorcery from that day onward, making it all the more unstoppable. The massed orc clans threw their full might against the tide of the Word-Bearers, but in the battle between heretic and alien, the blasphemers triumphed. Indeed, as is their way, the forces of chaos sowed dissent and conflict among the orcs. The once unified band of Warlord Gorguts fell into fractious infighting just when he faced the warp-powered heretics. The slaughter that ensued was of epic proportions, but Eliphas the Inheritor's true objective was simpler. The Black Apostle recovered from Gorguts the skull of Krull, the Butcher of Lorn 5. This debased heretic had led the so-called Blood Legion of Khorne and faced the Imperial Guard's 412th Cadian Regiment. Eliphas claimed his severed head for Khorne's Skull Throne, obtaining in this way the favor of the most terrible of the Chaos Gods. The Word-Bearers' victory over the Blood-Raven Space Marines was a terrible blow to the Emperor's faithful. The Ravens fought nearly to the last and blasted the landscape with orbital fire, rather than see their relics fall into heretical hands. But their sacrifices ultimately seemed in vain. Indeed, Eliphas the Inheritor saw North Vandia as the site of his most critical victory. Mad preachers took to the streets of Cronus' cities, claiming that by breaking the Blood Ravens, the Word-Bearers had obtained the personal sanction of War Master Abaddon for the Dark Crusade. It was never clear why the deaths of Blood Ravens, a chapter whose history does not go back to the Horus Heresy, would be especially pleasing to Abaddon. Nevertheless, the forces of the Word-Bearers fought with a new and terrible certainty from that point on. Eliphas the Inheritor's defeat of the alien forces of the Tau Empire led to a twisted parody of inquisitorial practices. The Word-Bearers celebrated the death of Aunel Shorez and pointed to the Ethereal's demise as evidence of the falsehood of Tau idols. The heretical propaganda surrounding this event saw the Word-Bearers spitting back at the world the same accusations used to damn them. They called the Tau heretics and infidels, faithless creatures who worshipped empty ideals under the boots of the Hierophantic ethereal caste. These acts were all directed at pleasing Lorgar, the Word-Bearer Primarch, who is said to rule the Legion from the demon world of Sycharis. The founder of the twisted faith preached by his Legion, Lorgar is said to hate the irreligious above all others. If so, it is not hard to imagine him smiling over the slaughter carried out in his name in the Tau cities of Cronus.